Anton Sanko is an award-winning composer and producer who's made a name for himself with his work for both film and television. He's best known for scoring films like The Possession and Rabbit Hole, as well as the Emmy-winning HBO series Big Love. In addition to his scoring work, he's produced and toured Susan Vega's certified platinum album Solitude Standing, which earned 7 Grammy nominations. Anton invited us to his loft near downtown LA, where he houses a unique collection of instruments, from handmade antiques to cutting-edge synthesizers, demonstrating his passion for blending the old with the new. Hi!
Hey!
How you doing?
It's so good to see you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, congratulations on your room. It's absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
You got some really nice pieces and the vibe is absolutely fantastic.
You gotta have a good vibe or else why bother?
That's right.
I don't want to sit in a refrigerator all day.
Yes. So, just let me begin from where does your love for orchestra start? So, when did you start thinking this orchestra thing is amazing? These instruments are incredible. What was your process to get into it?
When I was a little kid, the John Barry soundtracks to James Bond stuff changed my life. It was deeply influential, and I love that sound. And now it grew from there into much more, esoteric like Ligeti and Stockhausen and stuff. But it started with John Barry. No doubt about it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he's the great sound.
And what was your first instrument?
First, a classical guitar. Big money in classical guitar. No. Not really. All the weddings you can handle.
Yeah, fair. So how did you get into arranging and producing?
I was a keyboard player in a band, and back then we used to hire. This was in the '80s. They used to spend a ton of money on a music video, and we auditioned a bunch of directors. And we found this one guy. We really liked him, and he directed a video, and he and I became friends. And then years later, I was producing the record, and it didn't do another record for the same artist. It didn't do as well, and I've kind of already been touring for 10 years at that point, pretty much straight. And the director, whose name was Jonathan Demme, invited me to the premiere of his movie Silence of the Lambs, which was a tremendous movie. He had gone from sort of a kind of a hardly known guy to a tremendous Oscar-nominated, multiple winning guy over that period, but we maintained our friendship. And after Silence of the Lambs, he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, I'm not touring anymore. I can't. It's too much. And I want to get into film scoring, which is something I've always loved. And he said, "Hey, I'm doing a documentary. Do you want to do it?" And that was my first job. It took me a year. I got paid $500. I didn't know what I was doing, but that's how I got started.
Wow.
Yeah, back then, they didn't have, school, UCLA or USC. No programs back then. Just got to figure it out as you go along.
So was it pen and paper or what?
No, I've always been into computers, and even for a long, long time. So I've always had something. So I started with Performer back then, believe it or not. Yeah. I mean, it was before Digital Performer. It was just called Performer.
Yep.
And it was Mark of the Unicorn, yeah. And I had a 2-inch tape machine and a 3/4-inch video deck, and I was trying to sync them all together. And you hit rewind on the video deck, and the tape machine would chase it, and it would be 20 minutes to get back to the beginning of the cue. Yeah.
Yeah. SMTP.
Exactly.
Which would fail after about 50 times you played that master.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, sadly.
Yeah.
How does the process of composing and arranging orchestral music look for you? Like, you wake up in the morning and...
Well, okay, that's an interesting question, the way you phrased it. When I'm working on an orchestral piece, I mean, you build your template just like everybody else.
Let's talk about templates. So why do you have templates?
So you can have all the stuff you want available at any time. And also I have the template built just so I can remember, oh yeah, I happen to like that instrument, because sometimes you forget. It becomes such a vast library. So that's, yeah. So
that means that, for example, if you have, say, first, second violin, viola, cello, bass, 5 tracks, you have 5 plugins for the pizzicato, 5 strings for the cantabile, 5 strings for the staccato, 5 strings.
It's a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
It's very hard to keep track of.
Right.
And then multiply that by solo strings, ensemble strings, plus all the brass, the winds, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, it's a ton of shit.
It's a ton of shit. Yeah. And you need a ton of computing power as well.
Yes.
And a ton of memory because all this stuff is sample-based.
Exactly.
That's right.
It's a nightmare.
So why don't you please talk to me about how the process for composing and for arranging and orchestrating is different when you use SWAM?
Well, I first started using the SWAM stuff, I'd say, oh man, I don't know, how long has it been around? Maybe 13 years ago? A long time ago. And I started with, I believe, either the French horn or the flute. And it's a completely different experience because, you know, when you're playing the traditional sample-based libraries, there's a lag and I can't really describe it. It's not immediately under your fingers the way the SWAM stuff is. And you have to deal with all the articulations, with the key switching and stuff. It's not organic. You play the SWAM stuff, you play fast, it plays fast. You play slow, it plays legato. It does what you want it to do. So I really kind of hate playing other stuff as a result. Yeah, I'm very excited about the new string stuff.
Yeah, which I am about to demonstrate. But I wanted to ask just one last, just so I understand exactly, because of course, I mean, I produce quite a bit of orchestral music myself, and I'm just curious to see if you do the same things that I do, so for example, how, you know, in the old system, I believe that you would record all of the parts and then somehow you would get them on paper to when you have real musicians. Mm-hmm. So when you happen to have real musicians, how does the communication happens to those? So you're going from essentially a session on a DAW, and from that you need to tell the musicians what to play. How does that process?
How does that happen? Well, typically in what I'm doing, the turnaround is so fast that I can't do the physical translation from MIDI to paper. So you have an orchestrator who does that, and I send them my files, and my files are generally very detailed. I mean, I think they're generally pretty obvious about what I want to do. Sometimes you have to beef up the sound of the file just to get it sold to the director. You know, sometimes you add extra stuff that's not really going to make it, but the orchestrator generally understands that. And I communicate a lot with the orchestrator, but I'm usually still writing music at this point because there's so much stuff to do. Then I try to get I'm a little stickler for dynamics and articulations and all that kind of stuff. And then hopefully the musicians understand it. Traditionally, it's been fine.
Well, it's very interesting because you touched on a very important aspect, the fact that in the traditional method, what you basically do is you do a mock-up, which is like some kind of approximation to what the end result will be. And you are at the grace of the producers to say, yeah, we see what you're doing. Right. We know how this is going to sound like, thumbs up. Right. So for me, the process changed a lot because now, right from the get-go, from the pre-production stage, they have a much clearer idea of how that's going to sound like. Yeah. So do you find that that's true for you as well? Yeah, I mean, when I started this, no one knew what sampling was or anything. Now everybody knows, and they expect it to sound amazing. They expect your mock-ups to sound final, pretty damn close to final. You know, so that's the goal. I mean, that's what you have to do. So sometimes, like I said, sometimes my mock-ups are, like there's a lot of cheats in terms of getting it to sound the way I want it to. Yeah, of course. That's why. Fantastic. I admit it. but otherwise, you are already a user of SWAM, correct? Yes. All right. Long-time user. Cool. So, but I understand that you haven't seen SWAM String Sections yet. No. Very excited. I love this moment. All right. Well, I have prepared a little composition for you, and just to demonstrate how you can use SWAM strings just to come up with the entire orchestration, playing one line after the other without having to pre-program or do anything. you just play them through.
Yeah, that's what I love about them.
All right. So with string sections, what actually happens is that you have multiple basses at the same time, multiple violins at the same time, and it behaves in a very realistic way because of this.
So how does this work?
So how does this work? Basically, you have every plugin that you've opened available to you within this window where you can take your sections and put them in the space.
So you're looking at just the basses, but it knows that the other instruments
Correct.
are there? Oh, that's cool.
You know, because the bass is now in orange. And this means that not only this allows you to play for the same room, like if you make some mistake like this and you put one on top of the other, says, hey, you can't do that because physically it's impossible, right? So you've got this environment where you can create your virtual space.
Wow. So you could do more traditional, all the fiddles on the left and the,
Absolutely.
cello. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool, in fact. So...
and times 5 is the number of players?
Times 5 is what you choose. You can choose times 5, times 4, times 3. And so, of course, this is all about the the orchestral weight that you want.
Yeah, right.
So, as a result, right? So, I will now try and play for you this little piece that I've composed.
Does it decide on divisi as it's going along, or how does that work?
The what?
The divisi.
The reason why you have divisi 1 and divisi 2 is because you introduce slightly minute differences that avoid the sort of phasing, chorusing effect of when you typically duplicate a plugin. Same MIDI, same information sounds the same. Yeah. This one gives you a range of variations that allow you to make the sound bigger, not just double it up.
Yeah.
And also, of course, this has also an effect on the room because you can add, like, for example, here I have divisi 1, as you can see here, and then I double them up with divisi 2 on this other side. So
I see.
I could have put them one next to the other, and that would have been fair. Right. But if you do this, the software ensures that you don't get any phase issue or correlation inconsistencies, which is magic.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So, all right, let's try and play this thing. Let's go. 3, 4. Right?
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool, right?
I like it.
Now we go with the cello part. And we're going to keep it here. So cello, we have divisi 1. That's cool. Bow position, I would keep it around here. Bow pressure, we can keep it around mid.
Is bow position like serpent or sort of?
Yeah, you see it.
Okay. So you can just change that in real time. That's incredible.
Yeah, this is not too cantabile, so I'm gonna keep it right around.
Can you do the sol pont kind of like really glassy thing?
Oh yeah. You just put it there, and then you go minimal with the bow pressure.
Oh yeah. Oh wow.
Right.
That's cool.
Because that's what you would do with the real instrument, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So.
That's kind of amazing. You could just assign a controller and change the bow position is kind of great.
Yeah, I do it all the time. I mean, I like to use, for horns, I like to use breath controller for the expression. But for strings, I tend to have 2 pedals, bow pressures to the left and expression to the right.
Okay.
And then I get the bow position on a controller.
Nice.
So it's kind of, I'm going...
Yeah, it's like dance.
Yeah. Right, so we go back to 1, and now we go to cello, which goes... it's cool that you can hear that.
I know, it's really nice. That's what I love about these instruments. You could play them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also teach you. I've learned about about violas and violins and everything a lot more now that I really can control one.
Yeah, right?
Because the barrier of entry for a string instrument is insurmountable.
Yeah. There's a lot to learn.
There's a lot to learn. It's not like
What
a
about
drum.
so that you could just, I see Sordino has a thing there too. You could slide a switch to it.
Listen, the level of personalization that you can do with these instruments is absolutely stunning. I mean, you have like expression, depth, vibrato rate, bow pressure, you've got play modes, timbre, like.
Oh, what are the play modes? Could I see that?
The play modes are mid position near the bridge.
Oh, I see.
Harmonics.
Oh, yeah. So is that something you could just assign a controller to go into harmonics?
Well, the way I like to do it is I like to find my sound, especially if I'm, for example, doubling up and I'm using different, repeating a plugin, I like to slightly change the settings of each so that, kind of get the variation.
Right.
So, this is endless. So, you can pretty much map everything.
Yeah, you don't have to use another. My point is, you don't need another violin thing with other setups.
No.
You could do it all from here.
Yeah. 100%.
And
So now we got.
Sounds really good.
It sounds really good, doesn't it?
It really sounds good.
And then we go to this bit, and this is violin number 2.
Gorgeous.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe I can do this one slightly shorter. How about that? Or not?
Why bother?
Why bother? No, come on. We can do that. Yeah. Right. And finally, now, well, of course, this is the big reveal because the top strings make the track.
Oh, look at this. Woohoo! 16th notes. Holy mackerel.
All right, let's go.
Yeah.
There you go, right?
Yeah.
So then, once you play it without the click, it sounds like this.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. I like the fact that you could get in there and handle all those dynamics in real time, and they sound so beautiful. Yeah, change all the bow pressure, all that shit. Yeah,
Cool, right?
it's a must-have. Yeah, and it takes no memory. Yeah, right? Zero
memory.
Yeah.
I think that we're talking about megabytes, if that.
Yeah.
Like probably the core itself, the algorithm, is probably just a few K.
Oh my God. It's very, very clever.
Very clever. You're able to input any of your channels within this ambience where you can.
Oh, I see. Look
Yeah,
at
you
that.
can- yeah, you can
Absorption materials. That's crazy.
Yeah, you can change
Oh,
the size of
Look
it.
at that.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. You want to have a go with the cellos?
No, you're fine.
You sure? Okay.
No, you're the flashy keyboard player.
As a last question to you, I want to ask you, what is your final thought about these instruments? How would you talk about them to somebody else? What would you say about them?
I would say, first of all, it takes up no memory. It's very responsive. It plays like a real instrument. It feels it's liberating. I think all the SWAM instruments are liberating because of you play what you hear in your head. You don't have to keep switching around trying to find the right key switch, which I fucking hate that. It's like super time consuming and not very. It totally squashes your flow, you know. Yeah. And they're so responsive, much more so than any other people. I think I will not name names, but in terms of the way the expression and all the controllers work, it feels. I don't know why it feels more natural to me.
My man, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your beautiful studio and your time.
Oh no, I loved it. Thank you for coming. Yeah.